Hello, guys. I am here today to combine like terms again, but the difference is we're going to add some negatives in today. I know we've worked on this the past couple days, but it was just positive numbers. So we're going to add some negatives in today, and I think you'll find it's not much different. You just have to remember your integer rules as you're doing this also. So again, it's just another step in combining like terms. Okay, so if we look at the problem here on my first page, you will see a algebraic expression, and we know that our first step is that we have to find our like terms and somehow mark them. So if I look at this, I see some b's, so I am going to mark them. Again, include your sign to the left. So there's a negative 2b, and this one is a positive 7b. Okay, I also see some r's, so I am going to circle the r and the sign to the left, so plus an r, and this one says minus 4r, or negative 4r. And then lastly, I see some constants. So I am just going to underline them and include the sign to the left. Okay, now we're ready to combine. So we're going to start like we did before, and I'm just going to work from left to right. So the problem here is negative 2 and then plus 7. All right, so negative 2 plus 7, if you remember your rules, unlike signs, subtract, keep the sign of the larger number. So it would be a positive 5, and again, I'm going to bring down my b. Okay, so all I did was work on the coefficients here and then just bring down the variable. Okay, so now let's work on the r's. So we have a positive r. Remember, there's a 1 here. When there's no number, no coefficients, like there's a 1 in front of the letter. So it is a positive 1 minus 4. So again, if it helps you write it down. 1 minus 4. So if you do leave, change, opposite, you will see you get a negative 3r. So I'm going to put a negative or a minus sign in here, and then 3r. Okay, and finally, let's go to the constants. And my constant says negative 6. I'm going to write it down over here, if that helps. Negative 6, and it is a minus 3. So again, subtraction, leave, change, opposite. So it looks like negative 6 plus a negative 3. So my answer would be negative 9. So I'm going to put the sign, negative, and 9 here. And that is our final answer, because we can't combine anything else. There's no more like terms to combine. So that's the best we can do right now. So we haven't changed much from before. We have just added in some negatives that we have to pay attention to. Okay, let's look at another one. Okay, again, we are going to start by combining some like terms. And I see some n's that I'm going to circle with the sign to the left. There's one, and here's one. I see some r's, so I'm going to put a box around with the sign to the left. And then I have my constants. Maybe I'll just underline. And again, including the sign to the left. Okay, so I think we're ready to combine. So let's start at the left. Negative 4 minus 4. Again, if it helps you, write it down. Negative 4 minus 4 is the problem. So leave, change, opposite. You should get a negative 8. And bring down the letter n. Okay, let's move to the constants because that's next. This says negative 3. And this one says plus 1. So negative 3 plus 1, you have two different signs, so subtract. Keep the sign of the larger number. So you would get negative 2. So put the negative sign down, and the number is 2. And finally, I have some r's to do. Negative 6r plus 2r. If it helped, write it down. Negative 6 plus 2. Two different signs, so I subtract and take the sign of the larger number. So I get a negative 4. So I'm just going to put my minus and my 4, and I bring down the r. Again, that's all I can combine. There's nothing left. There's no more like terms. So this would be your final answer. Okay, let's look at another one. Okay, looking at this problem, I see some d's and y's and constants. So let's get started by marking our like terms. So first up is I see a constant. So I'm going to circle it and the sign to the left and the other constant. There we go. Let's move to the d's. So I see a d here. Maybe I just underlined negative 3d and negative 4d. And finally, I see some y's. So I'll put a box around those, or a rectangle. Negative 5y and a positive 6y. Okay, so we're ready to combine. All right, so let's start from the left. Negative 8 plus 2 is the problem. So negative 8 plus 2. So when you combine those, two different signs, subtract, take the sign of the larger number. So I would get a negative 6. Okay, let's move to the d's. So let's look at the numbers. Negative 3 minus 4 is what it says, right? We included our signs. Negative 3 minus 4. So subtraction, so we do leave change opposite, and we would see that we get a negative 7. So I'm going to put the negative sign down, the 7. I'm going to bring the d with me. And finally, lastly, I have y's. So I have a negative 5. I'll write that over here to the right. And it says plus 6. So two different signs, subtract. So I get 1. And it is positive, and I bring down my y. So it's a positive y. Now remember, you can include the 1 in front, or you don't have to, right? Because it's a 1. So either way is fine. If you want to just write the y, or if you want to write 1y, it's the same thing. As long as you have your plus sign in the y, you're fine. Either one of these. Okay? Nothing left to combine, so we are done. Okay, let's look at one last problem here. Okay, as I first glance at this problem, I notice some b's and some c's and some constants. So let's find our like terms. So I see a b here, so I am going to put a square around it. I see another b, a negative 9b, so I put another square with including the sign to the left, and I see one more here, just a plain b with no constant, or no coefficient in front of it, sorry. Okay, so let's look at the c's. I see a minus or a negative 4c, and I don't see a match anywhere, so it looks like this one's by itself. But I can circle some constants that are like terms. So minus 2 and then plus 6. Okay, so I think we're finally ready to combine. Okay, so let's start at the left. And I have 3 b's to combine here. Okay, so 5b, it says, I'll put it up top here. So 5 minus 9. And then we know that this is plus 1b, right? There's a 1 there. So plus 1. So there's the problem I need to solve. So 5 minus 9, if I do leave change opposite, I would get a negative 4. And then I have to do negative 4 plus 1. So it looks like all of those b's come out to be a negative 3. So negative 3b. Okay, Now this C we said did not have a like term. There was nothing to match it up with to combine. So we're just going to bring it and the sign down. So minus 4C. And again, now I need to move to the constants. So the problem is negative 2 plus 6. And negative 2 plus 6 would be a positive 4. So I'm going to put plus and the 4 here. Okay? There's nothing to combine. That's all we can do. So this would be your final answer. Okay? So as you see, guys, it's not much different from yesterday. We've just added in some negative signs that you have to be careful of. Okay? And again, I will say it one more time because I saw this on a couple of your homework or your practice sheets. You cannot just list the numbers and say that the answer is negative 3b and then it's negative 4c and then I have a 4. That's not an expression. It needs to be in the form of a problem. Put your signs in between all of those numbers there. Okay, and most of you did it correctly, but I did notice a couple that had sort of gave me a list, and that's really not an expression. It needs to be in a problem format. Okay, so you have a practice to do today on Schoology. Message me if you need anything. Have a great day, guys.